Okay, so before we get started, I just want to direct you to Little Seagull, which is our handbook, to show you a couple of things. So here I am in Little Seagull. I am on incorporating the words and ideas of others into your text. It's page 139. You can find this in the table of contents. I also want to show you when you scroll up that there's a whole section on developing paragraphs if you need some help. And also a whole section on research, how to do the research, library research. We sort of covered it already, but if you need some refreshers, you can go back to look at that. So I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit so you know what I'm doing as I move forward into drafting the paragraph. So it says, when you incorporate source materials into your own writing, you'll need to decide how to do so, whether to quote, paraphrase, or summarize. And this is your judgment call. And it is your judgment call. I can't decide this for you. I wish that I could find a way to download that into your brain, but I can't. So here's kind of the rule of thumb. Quote text when the wording is worth repeating. So if you need to say it that way, then quote it, okay? Paraphrase when you don't really need to say it exactly the same way. So you're going to paraphrase usually more than you quote, and quotes are usually going to be very small. You do not need very long quotes in these shorter papers. I know that 7 pages doesn't seem short to you guys, but it is fairly short, relatively short. And then summarize when it's a larger main point, right? And the big details are not important, right? So all of those other details are not important. Also, you're going to need a signal phrase so that we know that you're going to be quoting, okay? And go to the quoting, right? Incorporate short quotations into your text. So almost always you want it to be short. So they give you a little example here by Gerald Graff, and you can see the misconception that the life of the mind is a secret society for which only an elite few qualify. So it is fairly brief. Most of the time you're not going to need a very long quote. If you do, for some reason, need a very long quote, you must indent and do this block quote. And block quotes need to be any quote that's longer than 4 lines. If you omit anything, you're going to need to have little dots, right? And if you add something to help it read more clearly, you need to add brackets, okay? And notice that it's the page number or the last name of the author with the period afterwards and the quotation marks before here, okay? And it always uses the last name of the author, so use the last name of the author or the first and last name, not just the first name, okay? You're not on a first name basis. All right, so here's a little bit of paraphrasing. It shows you, this is on page, let me see, paraphrasing page 142. And it tells you to be careful of patchwork plagiarism, which means that you're taking these exact words, right, and using them in your paragraph. That is actually plagiarism. You cannot do that. You can't just change 1 or 2 words. It has to be in your own words to be paraphrased, okay? So I encourage that you go through and look at that. You still have to document even if you paraphrase. And then lastly, summarizing is when you need to put that larger content into a smaller just overall main idea, okay? And again, you still have to document. Right here it says Steingraber explains the experiments with dogs, demonstrating that the aromatic amines chemicals used in synthetic dyes can cause bladder cancer, okay? So that's kind of to start off how you're going to use these. Hello students, I'm here today to tell you a little bit about how to write a paragraph with sources. So a lot of students are struggling with this, and I want to kind of show you how to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my outline here, and I'm going to pick a paragraph. So I have my introduction here, and my first topic sentence paragraph was going to be, the world has a massive plastic waste problem, okay? So I'm actually going to just copy this. And I am going to open up a brand new document. Okay, so here I am on my brand new document. I have drafting. Okay, so I know that my topic sentence is going to be the world has a massive plastic waste problem. So I'm going to go ahead and go down, and I'm going to start my paragraph. And I'm just going to write that tab so that it's indented. The world has a massive plastic waste problem. Okay, and then I know I want to talk about that plastic is everywhere. I have this quote right here that I kind of wanted to use, and I made sure in my outline that I put down where it came from so I'd be able to have it on my works cited page. I want to remind you right now to always keep your works cited page updated as you're going so that you don't make a mistake and forget something. All right, so here I am. Go works cited. And I'm going to go back to, so I went back to my outline where I had a working works cited page, and I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it on my draft. So here I am. I made sure I centered that. I'm going to go back over to left align and I'm going to paste it. So make sure that it's double spaced like everything else. I'm going to come up here and make sure that this is double spaced also. Okay. So we know that there's a large plastic waste problem. I had already sort of drafted this right here. So I am going to go ahead and put it right here. And I wrote this, but I'm going to go ahead and make it the same as all the rest of the paper, because you don't want the paper to look. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to take this out because I had copied that. Now, you don't always want to use the quotes that you had, but you're going to want to sometimes to paraphrase and to summarize the quotes. So I'm going to go ahead and look through as I read this and as I write it to see what I want to do. The world has a massive plastic problem. Plastic bottles are everywhere. Trash litters streets, parking lots, sewage drains, and our ocean. We have a big problem. And then I need some kind of lead in here. You always have to have a lead in. According to the latest research, the world has produced 7.8 billion metric tons of plastic. So I don't need all of that. I can say, the world has produced 7.8 billion. Oh, actually, I can just put as of 2015, right? 8 billion metric tons of plastic. All right. And then I always want to make sure that I explain that. Let me see. This means, and so I'm going to actually put that in there, that there is, I'm going to put it in quotation marks, more than 1 metric ton of plastic. I'm going to actually put it here in of plastic. That way the reader knows. And those brackets tell the reader that this is something that you're adding that wasn't actually in there. Of plastic for every person, marks again. So then I'm going to read through and see what I need to do to make this flow when I do to the next. The world has a massive plastic problem. Plastic bottles are everywhere. Trash litters streets, parking lots, sewage drains, and oceans. We have a big problem. As of 2015, the world has produced 7.8 billion metric tons of plastic. This means that there's more than 1 metric ton of plastic for every person alive. Okay, and so we know this is still a quote. If production trends continue, by 2050, the Earth's oceans could contain more plastic by weight than fish. Okay, so now I want to make sure that I sort of and I'm going to put in other words because we always want to explain, right? We are damaging the world beyond repair. There is just too much plastic waste. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this other quote that I had in there. Here we go. Paste that in there and see how it fits. Plastic critic Hocevar says, we're just beginning to understand the scope of plastic pollution and the range of impacts on the environment ourselves. And then I put quoted in lemons because that was actually in lemons. It wasn't Hocevar that I looked at. Okay. So I want to make sure that I have some kind of thing that I actually make this flow when I do to the next. Let me see what else I had wanted to say. Other problems critics say stem from the sheer volume of plastic. And I kind of mentioned that up there, so I think I might want to put this up. Plastic. I'm going to take this plastic waste part out because I think it needs to go up here. We're damaging the world behind, so that's something. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. Other problems critics say stem from the sheer volume of plastic. Okay, so I'm actually going to summarize that because I don't need that much. So I'm going to say that the quote sheer volume, because I did not make that up, of plastic in existence is the problem, right? 80 million metric tons. We probably don't need this, so I'm going to go ahead and just take this quote out. You don't need every quote that you put in there, right? And then I'm going to go make sure that I have lemons in there so that we know that that also came from that particular reading. And make sure you know that you're using the last name of the author, right? Not the first name. The last name, you are not on a first name basis with the author. So we're damaging. There we go. And we have him talking about that. So we actually, yeah, I think that might work. Okay. So, and there's no sign that this is going to end anytime soon. According to the PBS Frontline documentary, it is estimated that the plastic industry is actually expanding. It is cheaper. Okay, and then I want to kind of transition out of this so that I have kind of a conclusion to my paragraph. Let's see, cheaper than investing in new plants. Because of this, new plastic will triple by 2050, according to the documentary. All right, so if you look, this is a good first body paragraph that I put together, and it kind of shows you how I incorporate sources, how to put these things together, how you need to make sure that they read clearly as a sentence. Make sure that they all relate back to your topic sentence, and which is like that claim, right? That you have at the top of your paragraph, and then back to your thesis sentence, which is your argument, your I say, right? And in here I have some they says, right, in here. And that's how I'm going to start to establish my argument. Okay, so here's where it started, right? That was the outline that I had. And then this is what I turned it into. And all paragraphs should be about 1/2 to 3/4 of a page. And that's approximately what this is. And that's how many paragraphs you're going to need, right? You're going to need probably about 8, right? 8 paragraphs for 4 pages because it's 1/2 a page. So probably 8 to 10 paragraphs. So that's where you need to start planning, okay? Hopefully this gave you a little bit of an idea of how you want to draft a paragraph with sources. And if you need a little bit more help, let me know.